We welcome you into week 3 of the Mike Turner Show as Carson-Newman falls on the road at Wingate 31-27 in the first ever night game in Irwin Belk Stadium history. Hello everybody, I'm the voice of the Eagles Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Mike Turner. Mike, a bit of a challenge over in Wingate, North Carolina. You outgained the Bulldogs nearly 2-1, but turnovers and field position tipped the seesaw in Wingate's favor. 3 turnovers, and the Bulldogs with the football more often than not on the Eagle side of the 50. How do you sum up, how do you break down that 4-point defeat?
Well, when you give up, when you have a turnover, that's bad enough, but you certainly don't want to turn it over on the negative side of the 50. And we did that, and that gives them a short field. In any offense, you get the ball on the plus side of the 50-yard line going in, there's definitely the defense has their back to the wall. And our defense has rose up to the occasion many times this year. But if you keep putting anybody in that decision, they're a little bit more freewheeling with the offense at that point because of field position. So football game has been, always will be, it's a game of field position. Who can get it in there where the percentages go up to what you can call, what you can't call. But that happened because of the 2 turnovers, and you know, yardage is great, and it's nice to say all those kind of things. But I think our defense has brought a keen man of the game and had that situation taken care of it many times before. On offense, we have to keep the heat on their defense. We need to keep our defense off the field a little bit more, limit the reps that they're getting, and it's all about the possession time that you have. You know, when you're in an option offense, it's a little bit more high risk maybe than some are, but that's not an excuse. You have to execute. You have to take care of the football.
How strange is it to be a part of a game where you do outgain your opponent by about 180 yards, you dominate time of possession, you hold 2 first-team all-conference running backs to 3.8 yards a tote, and lose? Yes.
Well, you look at it and talk to those kids last night. If it takes a punt return and 3 turnovers to beat us, then hey, we get that fixed, we ought to be a pretty good football team.
How proud are you of their ability to fight? And we're down 10, come back and take a lead. How proud of you were you of their never say die attitude? Well, I suppose
we're still continue to play with a bunch of young kids. This being their first road trip, you know, staying in a hotel, different pre-game setups because of travel between Charlotte and getting to Wingate. But gosh, those kids came out, and they came out hard. They played hard. We make mistakes, yes. We made mistakes that got us beat, yes. No excuses about that at all. But for the way of them to play hard, the way that they showed that they believed in each other, they rallied the offense, defense, and the kicking game. No complaining about this or that. And I was just so proud of them. And when I looked at them at the end of the game and talked to them about, hey, overcome this part. You know, it's a long season. We got 8 football games to go. We're still in a position to make happen what we'd like to make happen with this football team. But hey, eliminate some of those errors, some of those critical mistakes we made, and their effort and their belief right now. You know, you look at them and they were totally exhausted. They had spent themselves. I don't know any more a coach could ask for his players.
Carson-Newman falls on the road to the Wingate Bulldogs, and we'll diagnose the first half when we return after these messages on the Mike Turner Show. Back on the Mike Turner Show as Carson-Newman falls on the road to the Wingate Bulldogs in week 3, 31-27. Mike down 10 at stages in the first half, but you score 17 unanswered to rally and take a 7-point lead into the halftime locker room. What was the difference primarily between the first and second quarters, where you fall behind and then rally?
I think so. I think they made a play or two there. Made a play, got a little excitement in them. I think the whole sideline became excited again and got it turned around quickly, thank goodness. You're in that kind of situation early in the game. You're on the road. They had a great crowd representing them, and they were into that. And, you know, if you don't rally on that one in a hurry, that one can get ugly fast. And they did rally. And then we go in at halftime, and gosh, everything's fine at halftime. We come out, the defense stops in the first series, 3 and out. We get the football, and we don't execute right then. We needed to go make some first downs. We need to keep pressure on their defense, keep their offense off the field, and we go 3 and out, and then they drive it back down the field and get a score, and then that put them back into the game, and now it's a dogfight again.
You look at that first half, Dorian Miller, again, crazy big plays, 38-yard score, 70-yard score. Just the fourth 150-yard receiving game for a Carson-Newman player since the year 2000. You said throughout this week you wanted to get the ball in his hands more. Did it 6 times in the first half. Why was that effective?
Well, it's effective because of the threat that he is. His size, he has tremendous size for a receiver, matching up against defensive backs that are usually 5'10" to 6 foot. He's got great strength, but also got those long legs that he can eat up their coverage, eat up their cushion in there. We still need to get him the ball more in the second half. And we didn't do that as much as we tried. All right, we certainly tried, but we've got to come up with better and more creative ways to get him the football, no doubt about it.
It felt like you utilized him in a variety of different ways, slants, out and ups, out patterns. Right. There were options there.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the kids that we've got in there right now at receivers are team players. They understand the concept of what they're trying to do. They understand how important it is. I got to be a blocker. I got to be a great receiver at the same time. And they're really working hard. And Dorian has had a great jump in 3 weeks of being productive, and very proud of him.
Elijah Holbert, a 40-yard kick to send you up 7 into the locker room. Not too shabby for a first career collegiate field goal attempt.
No, just a red-headed guy from Knox Central. You got a little bit of red-headed guys. He kicked the one right before the half, and Coach Joe over there and those guys had called a timeout, and he got to reload. He had a great look in his eye, no worry. I was really, really proud of the kids up in front of him. That was great protection, and he boots that thing through there, and that was a great uplift for us in the first half.
Probably would have been good from 55 too.
Probably would have been. He had some juice on that one.
Carson-Newman had the lead at the halftime break, 24-17. We take a look at the first half highlights.
10 Eagles, right hash of the Bulldog, 38. Evans takes, wants the quick hitter. Hits Miller at the 30. Miller racing down the left hash marks. He's to the house. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. The nation's leader in yards per catch strikes again. Dorian Miller, 38 yards to the house, and the Eagles a PAT away from tying this one up. 3rd down, 9 to go. Bulldogs left hash at the Carson-Newman 15. Whitaker takes from the gun. He's blitzed and rammed down in the backfield by Antonio Henderson, driving him to the grass from the backside. Antonio Henderson, a right hand pointed skyward as he shoots through on the blitz. Evans takes, bootleg to the right, settles at the goal line, unfurls a deep ball along the right sideline, looking for DeBose. It's a jump ball, and it is intercepted by Tim Longmire along the right sideline. First turnover of the season for Carson-Newman. 1 Bulldogs from the Carson-Newman 15. Ball on the right hash. Whitaker in the pistol with Pittman behind him. 2 wide to the wide side left. Snap back. Hand off Pittman right side. And Pittman lurched down in the backfield by Jason Cook Calhoun. Pittman went for the stiff arm. Didn't matter. The Hoover, Alabama native drives him turfward for a loss of Whitaker in the gun. Takes the snap, looks to pass. Throws back of the end zone for a Hood. Complete. Back of the end zone. Gets his toes down. Touchdown, Wingate. Hood sneaks behind the Eagles' safeties. Dillingham and Thomas behind Evans. Split backs on 2nd and 8. Right hash at the Eagles' 34. Evans takes. Speed option to the left. He cuts it up the middle of the field. A lot of room for Evans. He's to the 50 and 45. Weaves his way to the left sideline across the 30. Down inside the 25. And he's finally driven down by Cam Johnson after a hefty gainer. Longest run of Derek Evans' career. It goes for 39 yards, and the Eagles have 1st and 10 at the Bulldog 25. Dillingham and Thomas, the split backs behind Evans. 2 men, Mitchell and Miller to the wide side right. Evans takes, trap right side, Dillingham to the end zone. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. Jared Dillingham, 3 yards on the trap around the right side of the line, finds Pater for the 3rd time this season.
Trying to go over the top against this Wingate defense.
2nd and 8. Evans takes with split backs. Rolls the pocket left, looks to throw. Wants the deep ball along the left sideline. Has a man. Complete to Dorian Miller at the 30. Miller waving his right hand skyward as he takes it the distance for 6. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. The home run hitter to Dorian Miller. 70 yards. and the Eagles have the lead for the first time tonight, 20-17. Light it up with 4:15 left in the second quarter. Heron to hold, Campbell to snap. Snap back, hold down. Hobart's kick, certainly the distance. Does it have the line? You betcha! It's good from 40 yards.
Those are the first half highlights with the Eagles up 24-17 at the break over the Wingate Bulldogs. Adam Cavalier alongside Mike Turner. Mike, you end up losing by 4. What was the mood? What was the mentality in the halftime locker room?
I think the kids responded well. They were excited that we'd overcome some penalties, got the ball down in position to kick a field goal. And anytime you score at the end of a half or whatever, that's exciting to an offense, exciting to a whole team. So they were in there ready to go, and it was, when we came out in the second half, Wingate hadn't done anything different, all right? It just goes back to a matter of execution and taking care of the football.
You look at what the defense does. Wingate with arguably 2 of the best running backs in the conference, and Lawrence Pittman and Blake Hayes, and they don't crest the century mark until late collectively.
Right.
Pittman finishes with a shade over 70 yards,
right.
but certainly not gashing you, less than 4 yards a carry. What did your defense do to bottle them up?
Well, I think our defense had some movement, okay, and that was a key deal, getting a push against their offensive line, not allowing their offensive linemen to zone block and reach up and climb at the next level and overtake a linebacker. It's all about a cut back here, A gap, B gap, C gap. You know, it's all about finding that little crease in there. And if you've got some pushback in this direction, then those cutbacks aren't there. They got to go parallel. When they go parallel, you got a chance to fill the gap.
It felt like Brian Bembry himself was taking care of 2-3 guys at a time. Montel Presley too. What about the job of your nose guards and defensive tackles?
Oh, those are a great job. And they, you know, we got to get them off the field more. Okay, they played too long. They had too many snaps, and we've got to have more snaps on offense to help them get a little more of a rest. But gosh, they responded well every time. They had a great push, and we just, you know, we're looking at some exciting things with our defense. You know, it's really a step up than what it has been. Their whole effort and attitude is different, and they're going to get better. You know, they're going to get better as the season goes along.
You know, you're known as an offensive coach. I think that's fair to say through 35 years on the field. And yet it's the Carson-Newman defense that has yet to give up a 300-yard game.
Well, I know this. When it came recruiting time, I know the first priority was making sure we had defensive guys. It's a great job that our defensive staff is doing, how they've related to our players. The kids that we've had come in that are freshmen, the sophomores or freshmen that are growing up within this program, 1 or 2 transfers in there to fill in, and they're getting to where they like to play like that. That's what I'm most excited about. It's not like it's a freak show or something like that. One time it happens and it doesn't happen again. They're playing hard and they're getting after people.
Carson-Newman falls on the road at Wingate, 31-27. We'll break down the second half after this on the Mike Turner Show. Back on the Mike Turner Show as the Eagles fall on the road at Wingate, 31-27. I'm Adam Cavalier alongside the CN head man, Mike Turner. Mike, second half, 2 weeks this season, you've played relatively injury-free, and it felt like there were stoppage after stoppage in the second half with players getting hurt, but yet kind of a next man up attitude from your team. It really wasn't too much of a drop-off as players rotated in as guys went down with injuries.
Well, we talked all week about this being a physical football game, the way they were going to try to attack our defense, what we're going to do offensively that has to be at a physical level. And our kids did that. Gosh, in the kicking game, we were very, very physical. When we were physical in the kicking game, we were very successful. Sky kicking it, getting the guy covered down inside deep. That kind of game, there was you could hear the plastic exploding, and there were some kids that stepped out. And like you said, we've got kids that we travel with, and we looked in the pregame meeting at the hotel, and I said, look around the room, baby, this is what you got. We are what we got. So everybody was in on that, and there were kids that did step up, and they did fill in the gap for us.
Third quarter comes, Wingate scores 14 unanswered to grab a lead. I think you had about 20 yards of total offense and just 2 first downs.
Right.
What changed from the second quarter to the third quarter that swung the pendulum back in Wingate's direction?
Well, I think, we got the 3 and out on them at the start, okay? And if we had done something with the football at that time, get some kind of sustained drive going, whatever, punt them deep at the worst. You punt them deep, all right, get field position and make them go the long haul because they weren't being able to do that against our defense. I think that done that. And then when they took their second series in the third quarter there and they took it down the field and drove and scored, well, that swung some enthusiasm. It shouldn't have because the ball game was just now tied. All right, but again, we didn't come back out and we didn't get into good enough execution and some positions right there to get it done. So we got to get better, and we're going to get better. We've got to get better. We've got to get better rapidly.
And yet, fourth quarter, it feels like in the past, Carson-Newman would have been done, down 7. But you drive down, you kick a field goal, and then have the football with under a minute to play with a chance to get the go-ahead score. What happened on the final drive to create the turnover on downs?
Well, I think, those kids, when you get in that situation, you find out real quick who's a part of the believing business, all right, on offense, defense, and the kicking game. And when we got the football, when we took it in, we made a play. In any kind of offense or defense, when things are going, you need a spark. You need something to, to ignite the thing. Some guy may make a great tackle on defense. It may be a back that makes a move or a receiver that makes a catch and gets some yards after the catch. We had that a couple times in that quarter that gave us that spark. Okay, we had it in that quarter there that gave us that for defense. So we just got to keep, I guess, looking for people to light it up so we can get those sparks flying.
Well, Jared Dillingham did that offensively too. A huge draw for 30-plus yards late in the game to keep that drive alive. What about the job that he did stepping in when without Antonio Wimbush on the day and with Marcus Williams absent in the second half?
Because he's a steady performer. He does a great job of coaching any other back that's in the game with him. He's the coach on the field for you right there, making sure he's got the directions going the right way. But I'm so proud of his effort. He's not the most talented back that we have, but he is the most, I guess, stability-wise back. He's always going to be giving you 100%. He's always going to be, for the most part, doing the right thing. He makes very few mental mistakes, but a great heart.
Carson-Newman falls on the road at Wingate 31-27, and we take a look at the second half highlights.
A set. Whitaker turns, hands off Pittman, bumped into his man. Pittman takes it anyway and strolls into the end zone. Touchdown Wingate. Broken play, and it worked a bit to the Bulldogs' benefit. Ball middle of the field. Evans takes, gives on the dive left to the center to Williams. Ball flies out. Wingate says that it has it. Rogers knocked him down, and Everett Westfield says that the Bulldogs do indeed recover a fumble. Williams was fighting for extra yardage. These potential scoring drives here in the second half of the Bulldogs started inside Carson-Newman's 50. Second goal from the 7. Toss out to the left side. Mitchell, good blocking. He's into the air, left pylon, and Mitchell topsy-turvy into the end zone. Touchdown Wingate. 7 yards through the air. A great block on the edge. Wideouts bunch to the short side left. Snap back, handoff straight ahead to Pittman, and he is blasted in the backfield. Irvin Nard rolls through on the run blitz. 17. Thomas and Dillingham, the split backs behind Evans. Evans takes. It's a draw for Dillingham. He's over the right side with running room. 30 and 35, weaving left to the 40. Still on his feet, he lowers his shoulders across the 45 between the hashes, up to the 48-yard line. 31 yards before Madison finally wraps him up.
Those are the second half highlights as Carson-Newman falls on the road to the Wingate Bulldogs 31-27. When we return on the Mike Turner Show, Michael Watrang shines our Eagle spotlight on Saheem Stupart. That's after this. Back on the Mike Turner Show as the Eagles fall in Week 3 to the Wingate Bulldogs. Time now for our Eagle Spotlight. And this week, Michael Watrang puts it on Carson-Newman linebacker Saheem Stupart.
4 years ago, Saheem Stupart was a record-breaking running back being recruited to play linebacker at Carson-Newman. He was quiet and sat in the back of the meeting rooms trying to learn the new concepts. Fast forward to 2017, and he's one of the best defenders in the history of the Eagle program.
Definitely, like, as far as knowledge, I've improved a lot because honestly, I did play defense in high school, but it was more of just go out there and make a tackle. So a lot of the stuff was new to me, but now I think just taking it all in from the coaches and them being pretty hard on me, like, it has helped me improve a lot with my knowledge.
On Carson-Newman's career list for tackles, Stupart will leave the program firmly planted inside of the top 10 and could reach the top 5. While a spot among the greats in Eagle history is valuable, his position coach, Aaron Hutzel, will remember his consistency.
Well, I guess the things that I think about are just some of the big plays that he's made for us over the years. I don't think he necessarily cares about, the tackles part of it. And that's not something that we talk about. I think the big thing we stress and that he stresses is doing his job on a daily basis. And that's one thing he really takes pride in, is doing his job. I don't think he cares if he makes, 2 tackles or if he makes 12 tackles. It doesn't matter to Saheem, as long as he gets his job done at the end of the day, because he understands there's a bunch of other people around who are going to do their job as well.
Stupart's growth as a football player comes back to a simple concept, summed up by head coach Mike Turner. The senior has grown up as a person.
Well, he's a great young man, got a great mom, and she's just a pleasure to have every time we get her here for a ball game. But he's come from a great background, but he's a kid that won't be denied. He's a kid that's grown as a man in the last 2 or 3 years tremendously. And obviously, the more you grow up as a man, the more you grow up as a believer, the better football player you're going to be. And he's flourished into that.
For a soft-spoken player, Stupart demands respect from his teammates. Hutzel is impressed with how far the linebacker has come as an individual.
He's the leader by example, but what he does is he'll whisper to a guy, on the side. And he does it the right way. He goes into the locker room and talks to him about it. He's not a guy who's going to call people out in front of anybody, because that's not who he is. That's not his, personality at all. And so I think he handles it the right way in terms of how to lead the other guys. And more so, I think it's probably coming from a heart standpoint where he cares about that guy, more so than he's trying to lead that guy. He wants to see that guy be successful. And so that's what's great about this group. They're all like that.
When Stupart was a freshman, he leaned on older players to aid in his development. Now the senior statesman is providing valuable insight to the younger group.
Really what I try to do is just model after those guys who helped me, because I really did appreciate that, and it helped me a lot. So I would just say, I know for the younger guys, because I'm gonna be the only one leaving this year, I try to let them help me lead, rather than me just always being the person that's being vocal and stuff. I try to get everybody else to help me.
While Carson-Newman football continues to churn out productive players and eye-popping statistics, Stupart said the most memorable part of his time at Mossy Creek is the relationships he has gained. The tackles will increase over the coming months before reaching a final number, but the family Stupart has added will continue forever. For the Mike Turner Show, I'm Michael Watrang.
All right, thank you very much, Michael Watrang, Mike Turner, Saheem Stupart. What more can you say about a guy, senior linebacker? I think he's up to 235 tackles, which puts him 35 outside the top 10 all-time at Carson-Newman. What about the job that he's done?
Well, he's a company guy. You know what I mean? He is a product of the company, and he's done a great job developing himself as he's come along as a football player. Really done a great job of improving every year in the classroom. Going to graduate with a degree, which is outstanding. He's a product of a great mom that's really been involved in his and raising him up and his upbringing and being sure about his character and those kind of things. But what a great example on the field for our kids, a great example in the classroom, a great example in the meeting room.
He's a guy, I don't mean to make this sound trivial, but baptisms happen frequently within the Carson-Newman football program.
Right.
That's a guy that has done that and made that commitment of faith. The only one that I know of that has done it with his mother,
yes,
and both of them done it at
absolutely
the same time. How special is that?
Oh, it's one of the most special moments probably in this program. It's always a privilege in this program when we can take a kid that's made a commitment to the Lord and feels like he needs to go through the baptism process. And we've got 2 or 3 different pastors that help us. Mm-hmm. Alan Morgan has got Mossy Creek cleaned up enough now that is part of our baptism ceremony. And for Saheem to have his mom and her be that concerned about him and want to do it together, that was just a special moment in this program's history.
Turn your attention now to the Newberry Wolves and Todd Knight's ball club. Kind of an interesting start to the year for Newberry. It stayed with a nationally ranked Citadel club, a division up for 3 quarters before falling. Go on the road and lose to Virginia Union by 20, and then come home and smash the Virginia University of Lynchburg 55-8 last week. What sticks out to you about Todd Knight's group?
Well, Todd Knight's group is they're going to be a consistent, hard-nosed football team. They're going to be a sound defensively. They're always looking for a playmaker here or there that can make big plays for them on offense. And you know, Todd and his staff are going to coach them up. And you know, we've had a great rivalry with those guys through the years, and it's been close and close and close and close. So we look forward for that kind of ball game. You know, you play the defending conference champions. You need to cowboy up and get ready to go.
Mike, pleasure as always. Final thoughts from a Week 3 loss at Wingate?
Well, I just, you know, like I said, I hate it for those kids. That's something that's part of football. That's part of that game. I'd love for them to be 15-0. But I know this: you got to have enough faith that if you do have a mistake, if you get beaten again, now you have 8 weeks to go. You got 8 games to play. Make those improvements, get it fixed, and let's see what happens on this journey.
He's Carson-Newman head football coach Mike Turner. I'm the voice of the Eagles, Adam Cavalier. This has been the Mike Turner Show. Thanks for watching.